What's going on, East Texas? I'm Trevor Pill, and we are pleased to bring you Friday's preview show for what should be a great week 4 underneath the lights. I'm here with Chris Perry and Travis Yosting. Guys, another week is upon us. Before we hit our main topic, that's going to be Lee upsetting JT last week in the Rose City rivalry. Later on in the show, I'm going to have Chris give us a little insight on how Lee was able to steal the thunder from JT. And then Travis, we're going to have you kind of break down how JT started off so well in the first 2 quarters and then crumbled in the second half. But first, let's hit some of the other games that are happening tonight. Travis, last week Chris mentioned that Chapel Hill's odds were good to pull out a win against Paris, which they did 51-41. Tonight they traveled to Port Neches Groves, who was a 1-1 club and made it to the playoffs last year. How do you think the Bulldogs are going to fare tonight against them?
Yeah, they've got another really tough opponent. They've got a tough schedule in non-district, and it won't get any easier next week when they play Tatum. But you know, they finally got their first win last week against a very good Paris team who had been unbeaten, and I think it's going to be another big matchup for them this week. And it's going to be a tough game, but I think they can pull it out.
Yeah, Chapel Hill's had a rough start so far, but hopefully they can bounce back and pull out another win after the first one last week. Let's move on over to Gladewater, who's going to be playing tonight. Chris, they're 2-1, taking on Carthage. They both lost last week. Carthage to Nacogdoches, and then Gladewater ended up losing to the team from Louisiana Lafayette. Now, how do you think the game will turn out tonight with the Gladewater Bears? Will they be able to pull out a win against them?
I think both Carthage and Gladewater, they lost last week, but they lost to very good football teams, and that has to be said. Carthage is, they're the defending state champions, so you never can overlook them, even though their record may not look that terrific whenever you're putting it up there. But Gladewater's at home. Our cover boy, Dalen Mack, is on a mission this year, and this would be a really big game, I think, just for Gladewater, for their confidence, to see, okay, hey, we are for real. We can beat these teams and we can move forward. And Carthage is not going to make it easy, but I just have a feeling. I think this is Gladewater's time. I think with they got knocked back a little bit, but they didn't get knocked back by anybody in Texas. They got knocked back by a very good team in Louisiana, and that's always tough to do. To go to represent the state in a border war type game, a different type of situation. Now they're back home in the friendly confines, and I believe that they're going to be able to take care of Carthage.
Yeah, I think Dalen Mack kind of wants to put the team on his back and kind of go out there and get another win. Like you said, team from Louisiana, great team. But also, let's move over to the Van Vandals, who started off 3-0 so far this year. Now, my idea of it is they've scored 35 points in their first 3 games. Haven't let the opponent get over 20 points. I think their last opponent was 20 and then 7-7. Tonight they take on Brownsboro, but they played Palestine, Spring Hill, and Lindale. Now, Chris, do you think those 3 teams right there are just easy pushovers, or is Van an actual good 4A contender?
No, I think Van's a very good football team, and I think especially Lindale was not a pushover. I mean, Lindale beat Chapel Hill. I think what's been so impressive is with Matt Savas and what they've been able to do on offense, that's fantastic. But to hold points down in this day and age of high-scoring games to 7 and 20, that's what really jumps out at you. And Brownsboro is a team that they're kind of in flux, and Coach Hooker's doing what he can with that team. And I really think that this is going to be a big game for Brownsboro to try to get up for. I just think Van has too much for him.
Now, what do you think, Travis? You think that Brownsboro will be able to fare against Van, or is it just going to be Van still in the show?
I think Van might be too tough for Brownsboro at this point, but you can't count them out. You know, they're pretty close rivals, and you never know what can happen.
Awesome. Well, let's take a quick break to one of our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to hit the league game tonight against Sashi, and then we're also going to have them 2 break down the teams they both cover, and Chris being Lee and Travis being John Tyler. And they're going to break down that Rose City rivalry game that happened last Friday. Stay tuned.
At Kelly Community Federal Credit Union, we have a monopoly on savings. So cruise on over to a Kelly Community branch today for big savings on loan rates and better earnings on deposits and investments.
At Kelly Community.
Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to Friday's preview show. I'm Trevor Pill alongside Travis Yosting, Chris Perry, 2 guys ridiculously familiar with East Texas football. Now, before we dive into the Rose City rivalry aftermath, let's talk about a little bit about tonight's game, Chris, and Lee playing Garland-Saxe. What can you tell us about Garland-Saxe?
I can tell you that they score a lot of points. I mean, they're averaging over 45 points a game. They've got 1,000+ yards of offense in 3 football games. That's incredible for just 3 football games right now. They've got a quarterback who's thrown for 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. They've got a running back who is being, I'm pretty sure he's committed to Iowa State. They've got a receiver that every school in America is looking at. So skill-wise on offense, they are very, very formidable. Defensively, though, they've given up points. So you can look at this 2 different ways. This could be an absolute shootout between 2 offenses, or Lee's defense can take what it did against John Tyler now to the next step to try to kind of, I won't say halt, but try to limit another high-powered offense. It'll be the 3rd one they've faced already this season after Lufkin and Fossil Ridge.
Now, what do you think we can expect Robert Lee's going to come out and do after getting their first win against JT last week? They're going to use that momentum for this game, being another big game, because Lee set up nothing but strong opponents to start this season off.
Yeah, Robert E. Lee, Coach Piskey, the first thing he talked to me about, and I really liked what he did, is he went in and he talked to his players and said, "You feeling good? You beat John Tyler? Congratulations, 3 years you guys beat John Tyler. What happened after that?" They lost every single game after that. And it's good to beat the crosstown rival, but their goal is to make the playoffs. And they don't make the playoffs unless they win at least 4 district ball games. And that starts on Friday against Garland-Sachse.
So what do you have with Robert Lee coming out doing? What's the score do you kind of figure?
I just don't think it's going to be as high scoring as it has been for Sachse. I think Lee's going to be able to hold them at least. I see Lee winning this game 35-28, 35-30, something like that. I think that Sachse coming for the first time to East Texas, playing here, and I think with Lee, with all that confidence on defense, I think they're going to have to find a way to get it done. But if it's 49, 42, 56, then I think Sachse's got it, because I think they have so much firepower on offense that if it gets into a score fest, I think Lee's in trouble.
We will have live audio and clips coming from that game tonight, so stay tuned on Twitter and Facebook, Etfinalscore, to be able to see some of those. Now let's dive into the aftermath of the big upset of Lee defeating John Tyler. Lee not scoring a point since 2011 against John Tyler. I'll start with you, Travis. JT comes out strong. I mean, better than most teams wish to. I mean, first play of the game's 80-yard touchdown run. How did John Tyler manage to crumble in the second half after having 2 great first quarters?
Really came down to the defense. You know, the offense moved the ball all right in the second half, but the defense really struggled in the second half. After the first half was a half of bending but not breaking, the second half they more or less broke, and Lee was able to move the ball very well, and JT just couldn't adjust to it.
Now, John Tyler's getting set to start district play next week. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, they're kind of happy to have a bye week after the loss, recuperate, get banged up guys, healed up a little bit. But they've got to start off pretty strong when they got to go to White House in a week. And, that's always going to be a big game. White House is always going to be ready to play JT. So it's going to be a good battle and a good way to start District 16-5A.
Awesome. Now, Chris, you went out on a limb and chose Lee to win the game, which surprised a lot of people. But what was going through your mind at the end of that first half whenever it was 17-3 JT?
I thought JT was in complete control. And I thought when Robert E. Lee had the ball at the 1-yard line with a chance to take the lead, score the first touchdown they'd had against John Tyler in 2 years, and then get a false start penalty and fumbled the next play, and then JT pretty much took 2 plays to go all the way down the field and score. I thought Lee was in a lot of trouble. But I also kept coming back. I was talking to Travis at halftime. I kept saying the first drive of the third quarter is the most impressive. It is the most important drive of this game. And of course, that's cliche, but it really was. Because if John Tyler takes the ball and goes down and scores, now they're up 24-3, and I think that they're pretty much on easy street. But they fumbled the ball in the first play. Now, of their drive in the second half.
What do you think was key for Lee to be able to take that game from JT?
I think the 2 muffed kicks really helped with regards, because one helped John Tyler not get a big run back, and the second one, of course, ended the game. But I also think that it was just, you could just feel momentum turning. The turnovers, when John Tyler kept giving the ball back to Lee, and then Lee would stop him on defense, it's momentum. That rivalry game is always about momentum. And the second half, the momentum was slowly starting to go over towards Robert E. Lee. And then whenever Devontae Craver broke that long run, that was 3rd and 2. That was 3rd and 2 of a tie ball game. If he doesn't do it, they just go to overtime. But when I thought that was the dam finally breaking. I thought, JT had hung on and held off, and when he went through and broke that 80-yard run, the 60-yard run, that was the dam breaking. Then Lee scoring, and then John Tyler still had a chance. If they get a big kickoff return, they can get a touchdown, but they muff the kick. And I think that was kind of that was it. That was the final thing. But these games are always so much fun. This rivalry game. But the most important thing, and I think Coach Rickland Holmes has done it with his kids, and I guarantee Pisky's done it with his kids, is that game's over. That game does not count toward what we want to accomplish. It does not matter whether we win or lose that ball game. If we want to try to win a state title, that's not a district ball game this year. Or, it has been a district ball game for about 4 years now. So that is the main thing, is for John Tyler to pick themselves back up and get ready to go play White House, and for Lee to try not to get too high against Garland Saxe.
Again, Robert Lee upset John Tyler 37-31 in the Rose City rivalry game. This week, JT does have a bye week. They dropped from number 1 to number 7 now in the AP polls. But that will wrap up this Friday's preview show. If you want to follow these guys on Twitter, you got Chris at C Perry ETFS. You got Travis at T Yoasting ETFS. And also you got Etfinalscore. Follow these guys. We retweet them quite a bit. Check out where they are. Travis will be at Rose Stadium tweeting the league game for us. Also, etfinalscore.com throughout the night on Facebook and Twitter. We'll have live audio and clips brought to you by your friends at Kelly Community Federal Credit Union. And also, if you want to check out the website, etfinalscore.com again for the most updated and accurate scoreboard in East Texas. Until next time, we'll see you later.